Welcome to Nutrition 101. Today we're going to cover why nutrition is important, the muscle and strength pyramid, calories and macros, and energy balance. So nutrition, why is it important? Well, it is honestly the most important part of any fitness journey, and for just about everybody, it's an absolute must to reach your goals because food is fuel. The muscle and strength pyramid is a really good guide that you can look at for like a visual representation of where you should focus on with regards to nutrition, with regards to your knowledge, as well as where you put your most time to ensure that you have proper nutrition. So the pyramid is built on top of adherence and energy balance as the base. They are the two most important factors in determining if you're going to lose weight or gain weight based on your goals and keep the results that you want. The middle of the pyramid, as we see here, is macronutrients and micronutrients. So these play a big role in the food choices you make and how your body is going to respond to the nutrition it receives through the foods that you put into it. And lastly, as we can see again, it's topped off by nutrient timing and supplements. So these are the least important factors, and we'll talk about those a little bit more in just a little bit here. But let's talk more about adherence. So adherence is kind of like, is it sustainable for the long term? Because this is the number one reason why, most diets fail. If you can't do what it is that you're doing forever, then you're really just wasting your time. And this is why fad diets and meal plans really just stink because, you won't be able to eat the exact same foods every day for the rest of your life. So why would you do that now? And this is why I tell you and all of my clients to really take advantage of all of those recipes and trainer eyes because there's literally hundreds of them that you can use to really spice things up with your nutrition and, keep it interesting and tasty and reach your goals. And I also encourage, if you want to branch out and find your own recipes that make it interesting and allow you to get all the macronutrients and nutrition that you need through foods that you find interesting that you can keep eating. So, instead, it's best to just learn how to eat foods that you like and still reach your goals doing that. And when you do that, you'll be able to stick with it forever. So energy balance is really calories in versus calories out. So calories in is what you eat and take into your body, and then calories out is what you burn. And there are really three different categories when it comes to energy balance. The first is calorie deficit, which is where you're consuming less than what you burn. So people call this cutting, dieting, losing weight, kind of things like that. Then we've got calorie maintenance, which is where you consume the same amount as you burn. And sometimes people think of this as like maintenance or living life, staying the same. Some people even call it freedom. And thirdly, we've got calorie surplus. This is where you're eating or consuming more than what you burn. Some people call this bulking or building or gaining. And next we get into macronutrients. So this is kind of a balance of proteins, carbs, and fats, the three types of macronutrients. And macronutrients, just generally speaking, are the nutrients that the body uses in large amounts. They are basically what determine the amount of calories that are in foods and beverages that you eat. And there are three primary macronutrient groups, and they are proteins, carbs, and fats. So carbs are carbohydrates, to be specific. Micronutrients, these are like the vitamins and minerals that are in your food that you eat. So micronutrients are really the nutrients that the body uses in smaller amounts. They're found in a variety of whole foods, and they help make up a well-balanced diet. And micros aid in many daily functions and help us to just feel better and healthier and more energized overall. Some examples would be like fiber, sodium, calcium, vitamins like A, B, and C, and so forth. And now we're going to talk about the least important pieces of the nutrition here. So nutrient timing is the time of day that you consume nutrients. This is really a small piece of the pyramid, but for a reason. This mostly applies to competitors and high-level athletes, but some people who are more experienced in fitness will also use this. Then we've got supplements, which is the least important piece. These, as you can imagine by their name, supplement the diet of actual food that you eat. They can be helpful, but they really are not necessary. So, if you're not hitting your calorie and your macro goals consistently, No protein shake, multivitamin, or fat burner or protein bar is going to save you. You're kind of, not going to make it. But let's move on to calories and macros. Calories and macros are a large portion of this energy balance equation that we're talking about here. So energy balance is 90% of the battle when it comes to losing or gaining weight. Calories is a word that is derived from the Latin root calor, meaning heat. And that's basically what calories are. They're units of heat, or you can think about it differently, where calories are units of energy. So therefore, because food is made up of calories, food is energy. Macros, the word macro is basically referring to what the body needs in large amounts. And because macros determine calories, now you can kind of see here why macros are so important when it comes to weight loss or weight gain, and specifically to that energy balance equation. So protein is basically 4 calories per 1 gram of protein. With carbohydrates, it's the same. 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. And then fats is where it gets interesting, because 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. And there's a nice illustration here to kind of look at how the 3 macronutrients work together to basically make up the total number of calories. So let's look more closely at macronutrients here and kind of understand what each of these are. Protein is essential when it comes to muscle. So when protein is broken down in the body, it helps to sustain the muscle you have and build new muscle mass. Increased muscle mass is good and leads to increased metabolism, meaning you burn more calories. Protein consumption also increases satiety, meaning you're going to feel fuller for longer. And another good benefit of protein is increased thermogenesis. And this basically means that it takes more energy for your body to digest, resulting in more calories that are burned through the process of just digesting the protein that you eat. Carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are often kind of looked at as like the bad guy when it comes to fad diets, but they're important with regards to nutrition. They're basically the body's main source of energy, which prevents protein from being used as energy. And carbs are also a really good source of fiber, which is very important for digestion and just helping to move the food that you eat through your body. But, when people think of carbs, they often think of things like donuts, cookies, and pizza. And these are carbs, but they're processed carbs and they're created in factories. The good for you carbs are found in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And fats. So fats are an energy source, but they're also an energy store. So when it comes to fat, what matters most is the type of fat that you eat. Healthy fats are necessary and beneficial for health. And the 3 types of fats that we usually look at are unsaturated, saturated, and trans fats. So unsaturated fats are the healthy fats that are found in foods like nuts, seeds, and fish. Saturated fats are also healthy, but not quite as healthy as unsaturated fats. And they're found in foods like red meat, butter, and cheese. And I want to caveat here, with saturated fats, you definitely want less of those than unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats are what you should focus on. Okay, next, trans fats, the last type of fat we're going to talk about today. These are found primarily in processed foods, which are made from partially hydrogenated oils. And these ones you should not include in your diet at all. And let's look at this diagram here. So this diagram down here is a good visualization of the different food selections that we have. Some examples of proteins, carbs, and fats that we all combine together to create a balanced diet. And you can kind of see the crossovers between these different macronutrients with different types of foods to give you an idea of, what kind of food you should look for if you're looking for just protein or just fats or carbs, or maybe a combination of, proteins and fats, or proteins and carbs, or fats and carbs, for example. And now let's talk about energy balance in a little bit more detail here. So the caloric deficit that we mentioned earlier, again, this is where you are consuming less calories each day than what you burn. And the goal here is to lose fat and minimize muscle loss. There are a lot of factors that play a role in this, and some of those are like macronutrient ratios, the rate that you lose weight, food selection, and training styles. Then we've got caloric maintenance. This is where you're eating the same amount of calories as what you burn each day. And the goal here is just to remain pretty much the same in terms of your body weight, with some fluctuations that are just naturally going to occur here and there. This is ideally where you want to live once you reach your goal and no longer need to lose weight. And this is a process still, but once you kind of get the hang of it, you graduate from that lifetime dieter status, and it's a really good feeling to not have to worry about that anymore. And calorie surplus. So again, this is where you're eating more calories than what you burn each day. And the goal here is gaining muscle and minimizing fat gain when you do that. And there are a lot of factors that play a role in this. Again, we've got macronutrient ratios, the rate that you do try to gain weight at, food selection, and the way in which you train or training styles. And I want to note here, muscle gain is something that's good. And when we do this, we're going to be increasing our metabolism and the number of calories that we burn, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, specifically with regards to metabolism. So here we come to it. Energy balance, which we've been talking about, is also referred to as metabolism, which you've probably heard before. And metabolism is basically the chemical reactions in the body that change food into energy. Now, understanding how the metabolism works is pretty important to understanding how to reach your fitness goals. And the factors that make up a person's metabolism are going to determine whether that person is in a calorie deficit or maintenance or surplus. And lastly, we've got a really nice diagram here just to kind of help you get a picture in your mind about what makes up energy balance, which is also known as metabolism. So energy intake, which is the calories you consume through eating, and then energy expenditure are kind of the two pieces of the metabolic equation. So energy expenditure is, the resting calories that your body burns from just existing and, being a human. Then we've got activity, which is like just doing stuff around the house, your daily life and everything. And exercise, where you're intentionally, working out and trying to train your muscles and get stronger or achieve whatever goal it is that you have through that exercise. And we're going to talk more about metabolism in Nutrition 102.